Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 3, Talks between Lord Shiva and Sati. So at the outset, happy Dasara to everyone. Very auspicious day today.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Same to you.
Thank you,
So
Prabhuji.
there are
Happy
17
birthday.
muhurtas are there, and we look forward beginning something on this day. So if you are looking forward beginning something on a very auspicious day, the day cannot get better than today. Today is a very, very auspicious day of Dasara. So we'll continue with our Bhagavatam. Once. So we are at text 12. Pashya prayantirbhavanyayosito apyalankrita sakha varuthashah yasam vrajadhi shitikantamanditam nabho vimanai kalaham sapandubhihi. Translation.
O never born, O blue-throated one, not only my relatives but also other women, dressed in nice clothes and decorated with ornaments, are going there with their husbands and friends. Just see how their flocks of white airplanes have made the entire sky very beautiful. Purport. Here Lord Shiva is addressed as Abhava, which means one who is never born. Although generally he is known as Bhava, one who is born. Rudra, Lord Shiva, is actually born from between the eyes of Brahma, who is called Swayambhu because he is not born of any human being or material creature, but is born directly from the lotus flower which grows from the abdomen of Vishnu. When Lord Shiva is addressed here as Abhava, this may be taken to mean one who has never felt material miseries. Sati wanted to impress upon her husband that even those who were not related to her father were also going to say nothing of herself who was intimately related with him. Lord Shiva is addressed here as blue-throated. Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison and kept it in his throat, not swallowing it or allowing it to go down to his stomach, and thus his throat became blue. Since then, he has been known as Neelakanta or blue-throated. The reason that Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison was for others' benefit. When the ocean was churned by the demigods and the demons, the churning at first produced poison. So, because the poisonous ocean might have affected others who were not so advanced, Lord Shiva drank all the ocean water. In other words, he could drink such a great amount of poison for others' benefit. And now, since his wife was personally requesting him to go to her father's house, even if he did not wish to give that permission, he should do so out of his great kindness. Hare Krishna.
Sati now she began to implore to her father, O Abhava, O Shitikantha. So Shitikantha is Neelakantha. So this is the another name of Lord Shiva is Shitikantha. So she's saying that, my dear Lord, O Abhava, that not only my relatives but other women as well dressed in Apya Alankrita Kanta Sakha Varu Yasha. Very nice, beautiful clothes and decorated in various ornaments. They are traveling to that place. Nabhai Vimanehi. In so many Vimana are going to my father's side. So it is high time that we also should go. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, Lord Shiva is called as Abhava. Lord Shiva is called as Bhava. Right? He is Bhava, Bhaveshwara. So he is Lord Shiva. And he is also called as Abhava. So Prabhupada gives a detailing of this word Abhava. Lord Shiva comes in this material world from the personality Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is called as Swayambhu because he has no material father or mother. He is called as Swayambhu, Narada Shambhu. So here is Lord Brahma. And here Lord Shiva is called Abhava. So it is more from the sense of that one who has never felt material miseries is called as Abhava. Or there is no material scarcity is called as Abhava. There is no Abhava is called as Abhava. Right. So this is Lord Shiva. Now, Sati, she wanted to impress upon her husband that even though there are so many people who are going to her father's place, those who are absolutely not related, very, very secondary, Upadevata, all these people are going there. Humans were not invited. We are too below dignity to be invited for such a, the sacrifice. So humans are not going there. But Yakshas, Kinnaras, all these personalities are going. So what to speak of her relatives and what to speak of my sisters, my mother's sisters and all of them. And she said that, oh Shitikantha. And there is a reason why she's calling Shitikantha. She's saying that, my dear Lord, for the sake of the demigods and the demons, you drank entire ocean of the poison. Now it is very simple request from your wife, who is personally requesting to go to the father's house. Such a great, kind personality, who is Shitikantha, who is Abhava, will not allow. So this is how very, beautifully Sati is praying to Lord Shiva. Text 13. Katham sutaya pitrugreha kautukam nishamya deha suravaryaningate anahuta abhiyanti saurudam bhartur guror deha kritasya ketanam. Translation.
Translation: O best of the demigods, how can the body of a daughter remain undisturbed when she hears that some festive event is taking place in her father's house? Even though you may be considering that I have not been invited, there is no harm if one goes to the house of one's friend, husband, spiritual master, or father without invitation. Hare Krishna.
Now Sati felt that Lord Shiva may say, oh, but you are not invited. And then, Sati says that why invitation is required? Something is happening in the father's house. Why there is invitation required for a daughter? Although I am not invited, how I will remain, that at my place when something is happening at my father's house. So Sati, she loves deeply her father. And she loves Lord Shiva also. And there is a tussle between Lord Shiva and Dakṣa. And absolutely there is no fault of Lord Shiva in this. Dakṣa has picked up the fight. Later, one such fight we will see, Durvasa Muni is picking up with Ambarish Maharaj, right? And getting sufficiently punished for that picking up the fight. But here, the Sati is the personality who is going to be very severely stressed out, or he severely punished herself, right? There is no harm if one goes to the house to one's friend, husband, spiritual master, or father without invitation, right? So you don't need invitation to go to your friend's house or to go to hermitage or come back to one's house. So this is how Sati is now imploring. Text 14. तन्मे प्रसीदेदममर्त्यवाञ्छितम् कर्तुं भवान् कारुणिको बतार्हति त्वन्माययोर्धे अहमद्भ्रचक्षुषा निरूपितामानुगृहाण याचितः. Translate.
O immortal Shiva, please be kind towards me and fulfill my desires. You have accepted me as half of your body. Therefore, please show kindness towards me and accept my request.
Says that, my dear Lord Shiva, you are immortal. And now some mortality is also going to come in the picture, right? So she's saying that you are immortal, Lord Shiva, oh my Lord. Karunika, you are known as very honorable, kind personality. Amartya, the word used here is Amartya, where the immortal is Amartya, Bhavan Karuniko, right? Tanme prasideta Amartya Vanchitam. This is my only desire, that please let me go. You have accepted as me as your wife. I'm, the half of your body. So you doing compassion on me is also you doing compassion on yourself. This is what the Sati is saying, right? What is the point here is, you doing compassion on me is also you doing compassion on yourself, because I'm your half of the body. So this is how very lovingly, a bit childish, a bit imploring, Sati, very, very excited to go, she began to lead towards Lord Shiva. Text 15. Rushuruvacha evam giritra priyayami bhashitah प्रत्यध्यधत्त प्रहसन् सुहृत्प्रिय संस्मारितो मर्ममिदं कुवागीषुन् यानाह को विश्वसृजां समक्षतः. Translation.
The great sage Maitreya said, Lord Shiva, the deliverer of the hill Kailasha, having thus been addressed by his dear wife, replied smilingly, although at the same time he remembered the malicious, heart-piercing speeches delivered by Dakṣa before the guardians of the universal affairs. Purport: when Lord Shiva heard from his wife about Dakṣa, the psychological effect was that he immediately remembered the strong words spoken against him in the assembly of the guardians of the universe. And remembering those words, he was sorry at heart, although to please his wife, he smiled. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that a liberated person is always in mental equilibrium in both the distress and the happiness of this material world. Therefore, the question may now be raised, why a liberated personality like Lord Shiva was so unhappy because of the words of Dakṣa? The answer is given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Lord Shiva is Atmaram, or situated in complete self-realization. But because he is the incarnation in charge of the material mode of ignorance, tamoguna, he is sometimes affected by the pleasure and pain of the material world. The difference between the pleasure and pain of this material world and that of the spiritual world is that in the spiritual world, the effect is qualitatively absolute. The effect is qualitatively absolute. Therefore, one may feel sorry in the absolute world, but the manifestation of so-called pain is always full of bliss. For instance, once Lord Krishna in his childhood was chastised by his mother, Yashoda, and Lord Krishna cried. But although he shed tears from his tears, this is not to be considered a reaction of the mode of ignorance. For the incident was full of transcendental pleasure. When Krishna was playing in so many ways, sometimes it appeared that he caused distress to the gopis, but actually such dealing were full of transcendental bliss. That is the difference between the material and spiritual worlds. The spiritual world, where everything is pure, is pervertedly reflected in this material world. Since everything in the spiritual world is absolute, in the spiritual varieties of apparent pleasure and pain, there is no perception other than eternal bliss. Whereas in the material world, because everything is contaminated by the modes of material nature, there are feelings of pleasure and pain. Therefore, because Lord Shiva, although a fully self-realized person, was in charge of the material mode of ignorance, he felt sorrow. Hare Krishna.
Purusharuvacha. Sage Maitreya continued. Evam Giritra. Now this is another name to Lord Shiva. Giritra, deliverer of hill Kailasha, is called as Giritra. Girisha, Giritra, these are the names of Lord Shiva. Shitikantha. Shitikantha is first time I heard. It's a beautiful name of Lord Shiva. Priyaya Abhibhashitah. And then Lord Shiva, when thus addressed by his wife, replied smilingly, although at the same time he remembered the malicious, heart-piercing speeches delivered by Dakṣa before all the Prajapatis. Vishvrajam Samakshataha. In the Purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that Lord Shiva heard from his wife about the yajna and yajna being performed by Dakṣa, and immediately, Prabhupada says, the psychological effect is that he immediately remembered the strong words spoken against him, and he was sorry at heart. But to please his wife externally, he smiled. Prahasan Surat Priya. So now there is a long discussion on why did Lord Shiva felt unhappiness within. And there is a detailed explanation by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes that Lord Shiva is actually Atmaram. So first thing, one we should never differentiate. There is, Lord Shiva is actually Lord Vishnu. In contact with material nature is Lord Shiva. This is, the first and the foremost. Kshiram Yathadati. That is the Sambandha Gyan of Lord Shiva. So it is, Lord Vishnu is another pastime where it's being displayed here. And because Lord Shiva is in touch with the material nature, he has to, at times, fractionally, he has to take on certain material qualities, right? And he has to accept the mode of ignorance so that he will be felt like, because he has to give his association to all these personalities, bhutas, pretas, ghoras, and pishachas, and everybody. They should feel some, the attraction, and to make himself attractive even to such a class, Lord Shiva at times remain in such a way which may appear to be in the mode of ignorance. But Prabhupada writes here, this is Lord Shiva is Atmaram. He is Atmaram. And then there is a discussion between material pleasure and pain and spiritual pleasure and pain. Material pleasure and pain, the effects are different, but the spiritual pleasure and pain, the effects are all the same. All the same means they are all ecstasy, right? So even misery in the material platform is also ecstasy. And Srila Prabhupada gives these two examples. One is Lord Shiva, Lord Krishna, baby Krishna, Bala Krishna, once he was chastised by Yashoda and he began to cry. But that crying, it may feel that, oh, it's ignorance, or no, that crying is also pure ecstasy. And similarly, Krishna disturbing gopis, and that is also. So this is the difference between, Prabhupada writes, the material world and the spiritual world. On the material world, things are differentiated. But in the spiritual realm, everything is absolute. And thus, the spiritual variety, pleasure and pain, there is no difference between pleasure and pain in a sense. Everything is a pleasure. Right. Now here, internally, Lord Shiva is Atmarama, right? But externally, because he is acting as Gunavatar, he also felt the pain. Now, who is Lord Shiva? Let's look at the immediate next statement. श्रीभगवानुवाच त्वयोदितं शोभनमेव शोभने अनावृताय अभियन्ति बन्धुषु ते यद्यनुत्पादितदोषदृष्टयो बलीयसानात्ममदेन मन्युना. Translation.
The great Lord replied, My dear beautiful wife, you have said that one may go to a friend's house without being invited, and this is true, provided such a friend does not find fault with the guest because of bodily identification and thereby become angry towards him. Purport: Lord Shiva could foresee that as soon as Sati reached her father's house, her father, Dakṣa, being too puffed up because of bodily identification, would be angry at her presence, and although she was innocent and faultless, he would be mercilessly angry towards her. Lord Shiva warned that since her father was too puffed up by his material possessions, he would be angry, and this would be intolerable for her. Therefore, it was better that she not go. This fact was already experienced by Lord Shiva because although Lord Shiva was faultless, Daksha had cursed him in so many harsh words.
So now Lord Shiva, he says Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Okay, he's a powerful Bhagavan. He is the great Lord. Lord Shiva said, Tvayoditam Shobhane va Shobhane. Says, Oh my dear beautiful wife, oh Shobhane, you have said that one may go to one's friend's place without being invited. That is true, provided two conditions are satisfied. The first thing is that the friend does not find fault with the guest. Sometimes you become, your friend to somebody, and your friend becomes a very rich person. And if you remember, typical Mahabharata relationship between Drona and, yes, Drupad, correct? No. So when Drona went to the kingdom of Drupad, thinking that, oh, Drupad is my long-time friend, Bachpan ka Sathi, I taught him so many things. He came to my Gurukul only. My father used to teach him. He was slow in studies. But Drupada very harshly chastised Drona. So Lord Shiva was exactly fearing the same thing. He said, provided such a friend does not find fault and does not become angry towards him. And this exactly same thing happened. Drupad began to find faults. He said, so what? You saved my life. There are so many soldiers who saved my life in the battle. Does that mean that they become my friends? Oh, beggar Brahmana. If you want something, if you want a cow, one, I will give 4 cows. But don't claim I'm your friend. And Drona was like furious in anger. And he said that, Drupad, I will teach you what it means. And then he took a vow that you have offended my learning. I will create such, the disciples who will defeat you and they will rob you of your kingdom of which you are so proud. And the Mahabharata just continues from there. Verses we can see Lord Krishna and Sudama. Right. So Sudama, he himself was hesitant to go inside Dwaraka. Lord Krishna was just running, he just heard the news Sudama is there. So this is the difference. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, Lord Shiva could foresee that what would happen as soon as Sati reached her father's house. What is going to happen? Daksha is going to neglect her, being too puffed up, and he would be angry at her presence, and therefore, because of that, he said that something untoward is going to happen. So although you are saying that one should go without invitation, but it is not a right place to go. Please avoid. Srila Prabhupada mentions here that Daksha was too puffed up by the material possessions and he had already cursed Lord Shiva in so many different ways. And therefore Lord Shiva advised Sati not to go. The side point here is there is no question of Sati Pratha ka Ugamasthan in Sati, right? So Sati just somehow picked up as a voluntary activity and it was never mandatory anywhere. But, somehow then later it picked, which was a very, very voluntary, and then later it became a customary kind of a thing. but it is not the sati doesn't come from, the sati pratha doesn't come from the sati per se, because sati she just stimulated herself before, Lord Shiva was still there. Lord Shiva is still there, right? Text 17. Vidya tapavitavapuryavayakulaihi satam gunair षड्भिः असमत्येतरैः स्मृतौ हतायां भृतमानददृश स्तब्धान पश्यन्ति हि धाम भूयसाम्. Translation.
Although the six qualities education, austerity, wealth, beauty, youth, and heritage are for the highly elevated, one who is proud of possessing them becomes blind, and thus he loses his good sense and cannot appreciate the glories of great personalities. Purport. It may be argued that since Dakṣa was very learned, wealthy, and austere, and had descended from a very exalted heritage, how could he be unnecessarily angry towards another? The answer is that when the qualities of good education, good parentage, beauty, and sufficient wealth are misplaced in a person who is puffed up by all these possessions, they produce a very bad result. Milk is very nice food, but when milk is touched by an envious serpent, it becomes poisonous. Similarly, material assets such as education, wealth, beauty, good parentage are undoubtedly nice, but when they decorate persons of malicious nature, then they act adversely. Another example given by Chanakya Pandit is that a serpent that has jewel on its head is still fearful because it is a serpent. A serpent by nature is envious of other living entities, even though they be faultless. When a serpent bites another creature, it is not necessarily because the other creature is at fault. It is the habit of the serpent to bite innocent creatures. Similarly, although Dakṣa was qualified by many material assets because he was proud of his possessions and because he was envious, all those qualities were polluted. It is therefore sometimes detrimental for a person advancing in spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness to possess such material assets. Kunti Devi, while offering prayers to Krishna, addressed him as Akinchana Gochara, one who is easily approached by those who are bereft of all material acquisitions. Material exhaustion is an advantage for advancement in Krishna consciousness. Although if one is conscious of his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can utilize one's material assets such as great learning and beauty and exalted ancestry for the serving of the Lord. Then such assets becomes glorious. In other words, useless one is in other words, unless one is Krishna conscious, all these material possessions are zero. But when this zero is by the side of the Supreme One, it at once increases its in value to 10. Unless situated by the side of the Supreme One, zero is also always zero. One may add 100 zeros, but the value will still remain zero. Unless one's material assets are used in Krishna consciousness, they may place havoc and degrade the possessor.
Lord Shiva further says, Vidya tapa vitta vapurya kulai. Although the six qualities, Vidya, education, tapa, austerities, vitta, wealth, vaya, beauty, youth, heritage, are all highly elevated, one who is proud of possessing them becomes blind and loses the good sense and cannot appreciate the glories of great personalities. So this is very important that, he will lose the good sense, he becomes blinded by his own whatever the qualities he has, and thus he will end up committing Vaishnava aparadha. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, somebody may argue that Dakṣa is such a learned man, so wealthy. Not only that, he is doing a lot of tapasya also, austerity. And he is coming, who is he? He is a son of Lord Brahma himself, Manasaputra. How did he do another thing, wrong things? Why he will become unnecessarily angry with Sati? his own daughter. But then, because he is extremely puffed up, that additional element of being puffed up is as dangerous as poison. And the milk may be very good, milk of the qualities may be very good, but because it is touched by the envy and the pride of the material possessions, the whole milk becomes spoiled. Srila Prabhupada quotes Chanakya shloka here. Manina bhushitah sarpa kimausu na bhayankarah. Sarpah sarpa manirbhusha vibhusha na mahabhayam. A serpent adorned with a jewel is still to be more feared, for the jewel does not remove the dangerous nature. Likewise, a wicked or envious person, despite their external qualifications, remains perilous. So what this means is, like there are two snakes. One is a regular snake, another snake who has money. And money se prakash aa raha hai bahar. Between these two snakes, Chanakya Pandit says, which is more dangerous? So more dangerous is the another snake जिसके ऊपर मणि है और मणि से प्रकाश आ रहा है. Why? Because the first snake, one may immediately run away. Seeing the snake only, one will be frightened. Another snake, one may see the snake, one may be frightened, but one may get allured by that money, thinking that, oh, let me get that money from the snake. And then neither having the money on the head of the snake is going to become less dangerous. In fact, the snake with the money is much more dangerous than ordinary snake. Similarly, a materialistic person exhibiting so-called good qualities is more dangerous. That's what Chanakya mentions here, and that's what Srila Prabhupada, quotes Chanakya Pandit here. Because Dakṣa is very proud of his possessions, he became very envious. And therefore, now Prabhupada writes teachings of Queen Kunti here. Janma Ishwarya Shruta Shrivihi Edamana Madhapuman Naivarhati Abhidatum Vai Tvama Kinchana Gocharam. So these are Janma Ishwari Ityadi. There is always a chance that one may become puffed up by all this. And Prabhupada says, in themselves, they are just big zeros. But when one becomes devotee of the Lord and utilizes these material possessions very well, every zero adds to value. Every material skill becomes from 1, it becomes 10, to becomes 100, to become 1,000, so on and so forth. So unless one is Krishna conscious, the material possessions are zero. But when one becomes Krishna conscious, every material possession becomes valuable. And devotee has to value their material possessions, assets, and consciously utilize them in the service of the Lord. Unless material possessions are utilized in the Lord's service, they may play havoc and degrade one's life. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you,
Jai.
Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Happy Dasara.
Prabhupada, thank you.
Thank you,
Happy
Prabhuji.
Dasara and happy Ramchandra Vijayotsav.
Everyone.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Happy Dasara.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Happy Dasara, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandapanam. Prabhu, small question.
Hare. Yes, Prabhuji. Dandavat.
Prabhu, here again Shiva is addressed as Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Like Brahma also addressed in somewhere, I think second canto somewhere as Bhagavan. So we understand this is contextual, but is there some other place where Lord Shiva addressed as Shiva Uvacha, at least in Bhagavatam?
See, generally what happens is, in the addressing, generally what happens is that, you will address somebody with reference to their qualities. Right. So Shiva Uvacha, we can just find out, whether that Prachetas, how it comes. In Prachetas, Lord Shiva's instruction to Prachetas, those shlokas. But there are other instances where somewhere else is being called as, but it is, based on one's position. Generally, one will not be directly referred in a singular way. Right. Like Modi ne bola, or one will say that Prime Minister Modi ji said like this. So it will come in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam also most of the time that way.
Okay. Generally, we'll
What to speak of, here Lord Shiva. Even later, 7th canto, we'll say Shri Hiranyakashipu Uvacha. Somebody will say, why Shri to Hiranyakashipu? So Bhagavatam says, no, he is now going to be liberated. He is going to be a great personality. He is going to be in the pages of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for eternity. And that's why Shri Hiranyakashipu Uvacha. Okay. So, Shri Vrutra Uvacha. Of course, Vritrasura is a great personality.
and generally, Prabhu, at least when when we hear or preach, sometimes we only say that, okay, Bhagavan is the only specific word to Lord Krishna, no one else.
We don't say that. Bhagavan is used, what to speak of Lord Shiva, who is a very, very special personality. Bhagavan is used for even Narad Muni also. Narad Muni, Atri Muni, Lord Brahma sometimes. Even to Narad Muni, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha aata hai. The great sage. So here the great Lord Shiva said, so their great sage Narada, like that it is.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Sometimes
Krishna.
Vyasa Maharshi also, Bhagavan Vyasa Bhagavan.
Bhagavan Vyasa, yes.
Sevaka Bhagavan or Sevya Bhagavan, two Bhagavans are there, I heard. Sevya Bhagavan is Krishna, Godhead. These are Sevaka Bhagavan, you can say.
They are not spoken from the Bhagavan perspective. I mean, we don't have to focus on which Bhagavan they are. They are Bhagavan Uvacha means great personalities they spoke. Yeah, like that. That much only. Not to differentiate between Sevaka and Sevya. Great personality, Narada Muni, he said. Very great personality, Narada Muni, he said. Like that it is.
Thank you. Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I have one question. So actually, in this context of original yagya, where Prajapati Dakṣa came and Shiva didn't get up from his feet to pay the obeisances. So my question is, because Shiva is also Vaiṣṇava and Dakṣa also was Vaiṣṇava. So why Shiv Bhagwan did not get up when Dakṣa enters the place, basically? What was the reason?
The reason was Lord Shiva was deeply absorbed in the meditation. And he accidentally did not get up. It was not that, he decided, oh, mere sasur aa rahe, nahi uthunga. It was not like that. Lord Shiva was in deep absorption on the Supreme Lord. And in the deep absorption, he just did not get up. That's it. And neither, he's required to get up. Now, all this get up, not get up may be a very small thing for us because we are very small. But, from the perspective of all these dignitaries in Pune, we had President of India coming and inaugurating our NVCC temple, Pranab Mukherjee ji. So on the stage, forget who should be there on the stage. When President is there on the stage, there is an etiquette that nobody should show and speak to the President, One cannot just cross him. Cross him, matlab, he is sitting and you go from one side of the stage to another side of the stage. So there are some very serious and Raja Shishtachar, and then only they will say that and all the photographs being clicked, they were all monitored. Which photo will go out, which will not go out. That Rashtrapati Bhavan will take care of everything, and there are people, experts sitting, what will happen, what will not happen. So on a higher level, what happens is, that there are some etiquettes and some things, they just are very, very important. So Lord Shiva is, one may see just Lord Shiva is mera tu jamate karke. But on his own glory, Lord Shiva supersedes even Lord Brahma, who is father of Dakṣa. In modern slang language, Dakṣa ke baap se bhi much more position, bigger position Lord Shiva is. It is, that is the position of Lord Shiva. But, Dakṣa, just like any ordinary person misunderstands Lord Shiva, or, to be more precisely to say, how a neophyte Vaiṣṇava may misunderstand Lord Shiva, Dakṣa also misunderstood Lord Shiva, being a very neophyte as a Vaiṣṇava.
Yeah, precisely. Means my question is, in our context, if there is a great devotee, means we have this Bhakta, Kanishta Bhakta, Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, like that. So does it mean that Kanishta Adhikari need not be respected? I mean, but we don't see that way, right?
See, in our context, one should always consider oneself to be super Kanishta and find out the reason to respect a person.
हाँ, तो फिर
One
यहाँ पे
can,
क्यों नहीं ऐसे हुआ? क्योंकि
because
वो
Lord Shiva was deeply absorbed in the, the deep ecstasy he was when he was meditating on Paramatma within. That is the reason.
क्योंकि वो रोमहर्षण सुता वो वहां पे भी उन्होंने वो उठे नहीं इसलिए उनको कर्ज कर दिया था, like he was
That was the Romaharshan Sutta was not in some meditation or in ecstasy. He purposefully did not get up.
oh, okay. Got it.
Knowing that, see, what is the conclusion of Bhagavatam? Conclusion of Bhagavatam is Etejam Sakalapamsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, right? So Swayam Bhagavan Krishna Balaram, there is no difference between Krishna and Balaram. Now, Balaramji has arrived, who is conclusion of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. You are sitting to discuss Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and Balaramji is there on your doorsteps, and you did not get up. He's Adi Guru. And then the style of Balaramji is different. Now look at style of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva tolerated everything, all the horrible words and everything. Balramji, he did not get up, so he just empowered Kushagras and destroyed him on the spot. Right.
Yes.
So that is Balaram. And who will question Lord Balaram? Correct.
Yes.
So he's Adi Guru. But Lord Shiva, he just acted just as a devotee should act. That's how he did it.
Okay.
And he is not supposed to get up. So to forget even meditation on Supreme Lord, Lord Shiva is not supposed to get up except for anybody, even not for Brahma. But he will get up because he has appeared through Brahmaji and Lord Vishnu himself, because he is on that position. And that these positions play a big, big way, I mean, in our case, what happens, neither we have position, neither we have any Shakti also. If somebody offends, sometimes we feel that, you are so horrible. Kuch Shakti bhi nahi isko punish karne ka, If I would have been some IAS officer or something like police officer, isko aisa dhada sikhata karke. You feel like that. Correct.
Yes.
So in our case, neither there is Shakti, nor there is this or that. And we are happy being that. Otherwise, we would have just caught up in that revenge kind of a cycle.
Yes.
So Lord Shiva was deeply absorbed in the thoughts of Lord Vishnu, and that's why he did not get up. I mean, he just didn't occur to him. And that was taken as a big, ha-hua from Dakṣa, and he just created a big scene out of it.
Yes, brother. Thank you so
During the scene, after the scene, Lord Shiva always remained gracious and dignified.
Gracious.
Yes.
He was not into, some wrong words,
Yes.
tit for tat, nothing. Correct?
Yes.
In our case, it is different. Our case, we have to find how I can respect another person. Jnana Vriddha, Vayo Vriddha, Tapo Vriddha. One should be always eager to give respect to another person, finding a reason. You can say, no, Prabhuji, you are already, you are much more than me because, something, some reason we should find and give respect. That is always better. Kirtaniya Sadahari.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you to our Hare Krishna.